Today we are in Manchester. Thank you so much for being here today. Would you mind letting our audience know who you are and what company you're with?
Hi, yes, my name is Kristen Grenier, and I have recently started my own business called Guidance for Seniorcare. And my goal and thought behind it is, after 26 years in the healthcare industry in various roles, from adult day programming to long-term care to assisted living, it's become more and more apparent, even still, families really need a voice. They need someone that they can talk to, ask questions to. So ideally, I will be there to help families kind of navigate the healthcare maze, whether they're looking for home care, a nursing home, assisted living, having trouble with paperwork, kind of help people point them in the right direction. COVID affected everybody horribly. It's been really difficult for everyone, and I think seniors right now are having trouble finding resources for what they need. What I think is most challenging for seniors right now is available resources for things they might need, even simple things like transportation to and from doctor's appointments, and when and if something should happen, like a crisis, there's no one there to really guide them through the steps. If you end up at the hospital, families don't really know what's involved to get a 3-day qualifying stay, or what someone might need upon discharge when they get home, and how to set those services up to be preventative in something happening going forward.
So let's talk about that. What does happen when an older adult gets sent to the hospital and doesn't get admitted? What is the typical process?
Oh gosh, that's been a really tricky subject, especially after the COVID kind of outbreak. The problem at the hospitals right now, as it is everywhere, is there's understaffing and an overabundance of patients. So if someone goes to the hospital after a fall or dehydration or whatever it might be, they tend to hold people for observation and don't actually admit someone. When someone's admitted to the hospital, you have to have a 3-day qualifying stay so that Medicare will pick up a rehab stay at a nursing home or long-term care setting. If you're not officially admitted and you're sent home, you need to reach out to a home care agency or someone who can help you with that process once you get home. And there's so many available resources, I think, that people don't really know about. Even support systems like your company, going through your town social worker, talking to a home care agency, and sadly a lot of people just rely on family, which becomes a little bit overwhelming for the family as a caregiver too. It's very hard, I think, for seniors sometimes to think about drinking enough fluids throughout the day. I remember a lady that I had that I would take to her doctor's appointments, and she would always laugh because she never wanted to drink her water because she would have to use the ladies' room. And that seems to be a constant struggle that I hear a lot from families. But it's so important. I don't think people realize how I don't want to use the word devastating, but how much it can hurt your system if you don't keep up your fluid intake. Your medicines won't act correctly. You can become dizzy. Your skin gets very dry. Your eyes can get very dry. In terms of dehydration, honestly, one of the ones is if you stop needing to use the ladies' room. If all of a sudden you don't have to go, One of the tests that people will show you is if you pinch your skin and it doesn't rubberize back down, that's a definite symptom. If you are swallowing a lot, if you get confused, if you have a headache, dizziness is a big part of it.
Absolutely, and those things can make people end up at the hospital as a result of dehydration.
You would be really surprised how many folks end up at the ER because of confusion, and as it turns out, it's because they were either undernourished or mainly dehydrated, and that's a big common thing that the ER sees. I was actually just visiting with a nurse a few weeks back, and she said she had 3 gentlemen that had come in, one right after another, who just had not been drinking enough fluids throughout the day, and one gentleman they actually thought was progressing into cognitive decline, and it turns out he just wasn't drinking enough throughout the day to keep himself going.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience with seniors?
So yes, it's actually funny. Someone asked me that the other day. And of course, in my youth, I had 2 grandmothers who had cognitive decline, and then I did lose both my parents to various types of cancer. So over the years, I was very much involved in my own family's care. And after I graduated Eastern, I was in a small car accident that set me back a little bit. And at that time, I was looking for something to keep me busy. And I stumbled across the certificate programs at Manchester Community College. And I ended up getting my certificate in therapeutic recreation and then in gerontology as well. At the time, I happened to be bartending. And I remember very clearly reading some classified ads, and there was a position for an adult day program to be an activity director. So I applied for that, and I got the job, and it was pretty much there on in. I've been in healthcare, everything from adult day program to long-term nursing home type environments where I would do the admissions and some activities. I was then recruited to open a memory-specific assisted living program in a community in West Hartford as the activity director, and that sort of rolled into doing the sales and marketing. And I've done everything from sales and marketing in independent living to assisted living to what they call a CCRC, which is kind of a continuum of care kind of platform where it's a little bit of a buy-in. And over the years, it's just been clear to me that families still really need a dedicated person to help them kind of make decisions and navigate all of these different platforms. Just in our area of Manchester and South Windsor alone, there's probably 7 different types of community style living, and it's very overwhelming for families to look at that and try to make a decision as to what they need. One of the blog posts that I did a few weeks ago, because actually it was helping a family move their loved one into an assisted living, the woman was very concerned about how she was going to make new friends and how she was going to get involved. And, one of the good things, these communities are really set up to help encourage you. They have a set up daily calendar, which you'll receive as soon as you move in. And there's activity directors that will come to your apartment and invite you to different programs. But, you have to take a little bit of the burden on yourself. Make sure that you ask at the front desk what's going on for the day. Maybe introduce yourself to the neighbors. There's usually some type of community dining room that you would all be going to, so you can make your friends that way. And just going down to some of the common spaces and having a cup of coffee and saying hello and introducing yourself. We all have a lot of stories to share, and everyone is also kind of feeling in the same boat that you might be when you move to these communities. It's a new kind of scary step. It's a new chapter in your life. But if you utilize what's available to you within the community itself, you might be able to meet some people that way. I know in one of my previous communities, we even had something called a resident ambassador, which a lot of the new residents would get involved in because it was helping to be like a welcome wagon committee as new members moved into the community. The other family that I was helping recently, it was, a very kind of sad story where a spouse had passed away and the husband was kind of stuck. His wife was really the party planner in the family. She kind of kept the glue together. She planned all the outings, all the dinners, kind of all the trips. And once she was gone, he really didn't know how to move forward with being social. So I actually took him to his local senior center, introduced him to the director there, and 2 or 3 of the senior center members that I knew. And they helped show him the calendar. And one of the bits of advice that one of the other seniors actually gave him was to go to the local parks when the weather is nice. Take a walk, see who's there, see who might be just sitting there getting some fresh air, introduce yourself. Go to your local library. Still, even though in this day and age of technology, there are a lot of people that still go to the libraries and they have some wonderful programs. They'll do movie nights, they'll have poetry readings, things like that. I have a group of gentlemen that meets every week at the Vernon McDonald's, and they have a cup of coffee and pancakes, and that's kind of their weekly get-together. So there's a lot of different options and opportunities out there. You just kind of have to reach out for them. But again, I do think, if you're home, your local senior center, your town hall, the local parks, and even your neighbors and your friends, just because you've lost a spouse, it doesn't mean they still don't want to see you and they still don't want to have lunch and dinner with you. Into the fall, my next couple of projects, I'm going to be doing some interviews with some physical therapists and some home care agencies, and we're going to be talking about preventative measures. 90% of my time is spent talking to a family after a crisis has occurred, either a fall or dehydration or missed medications. I even hate to say, but even a car accident. So a couple of us have gotten together and we're going to work on a series to help people stay home safely and what kind of resources are out there for you to reach out to. So one of the things that my website is kind of designed to do is to provide educational and informative information. And one of the recent blogs that I just posted about was dehydration. As we've been having such a really hot summer, there were some tips and tricks and ways to avoid dehydration. Even simple things like eating cucumbers as a snack and a couple different electrolytes that you can use throughout the day. I am at www.guidanceforseniorcare.com, and I also have a Facebook page, Guidance for Senior Care. You can reach out to me directly through there, or my email is Kristen@guidanceforseniorcare.com.